How's it going, Raider Nation? It's JT coming at you with another final episode of the East Coast pregame show, at least for this season, with my friend NJ Raider Nation. How are you doing, NJ?
Crazy weekend. Good game. I think coming off that, I'm filled with excitement for next season because that was a fun game to watch. So I'm feeling good.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what the offense can look like when the quarterback knows the playbook and knows the scheme well. And it was electric. It was just really good plays, play calls, rollouts, design QB rollouts, the QB getting out of the pocket, resetting his feet, which we don't ever see from Carr, and making nice throws while on the run. Just different feel of the team, and it was a close game. And I tweeted this out and I said, this is the first game where I will fully blame the defense for losing, because they were a big reason why we lost. I thought the offense played well. I thought Jared Stidham played well despite the 2 interceptions. I don't think necessarily, obviously, they're a reason why we lost, but not really. The defense definitely could have and should have stepped up more in certain spots to prevent scores from happening, or at least hold the field goals and not touchdowns and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought the whole story is basically Stidham, and Stidham played well, and it really caused a lot of Raider Nation to be like, well, it looks like Carr was the issue. This game kind of proved that Carr was a major issue for the team this whole season.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as saying he's an issue, but like I said in your show last week, if Jared Stidham comes out and starts slinging the ball and plays really well, it's going to be hard for anyone to argue against Stidham, or at least against the possibility of maybe bringing in a new quarterback. And you know, I don't think Carr is necessarily a bad quarterback, but another thing that you just said, Stidham is familiar with this scheme, familiar with Coach Josh McDaniels, and familiar with his play calling since 2019. And I think seeing how he played this past Sunday, it did show what Josh McDaniels is capable of. And I think that's been one of the big problems, right? Carr and McDaniels haven't been on the same page. And in the beginning, you know, a lot of people were saying Josh McDaniels, should he be fired or not? And, you know, now we've gotten to the point where it looks like Carr is not going to be the quarterback anymore. So it's like one of those two had to go. And Carr took, you know, the shit end of the stick. And now we're looking at a new quarterback with the same scheme, same play calling. And Jared Stidham, someone who knows that, who's familiar with that scheme, played very well this past Sunday. And I think, you know, going back to the beginning of the show, it's very exciting as a Raider fan for what's to come. Yeah.
And I think that it kind of proved that McDaniels can call it a decent game. Obviously there were, you know, bad play calls here and there, but overall I thought it was a well-coached game, well-schemed game. They definitely took advantage of whatever weaknesses that the Niners defense had. I think a lot of it was Stidham made some good plays when there was broken down plays, which is huge. He made like 3 or 4, I think it was like 3 first downs with his legs. He had obviously that huge touchdown that he took a major shot on, that everyone was just enamored with him. Like just after that play, was just like, holy shit, this guy is like almost legit. You almost want to call him legit. But as we and you were discussing before the show, tell the people, do you think that Stidham is the answer, or do you think we still bring in, you know, a Brady, a Garoppolo, or even a rookie into this going into next season?
Yeah, so there's 2 things. One, I think, you know, the realistic approach of how good is the quarterback. You know, you got to look at his style and look at his play, and then you determine if he should be a quarterback going down the line. And he had 4 preseason games this season, and he's had 1 start, and now he's going to have another start versus the Chiefs. And, you know, with only 2 regular season games, it's hard to judge a quarterback based on 2 games, I feel, right? But then there's the other side of things where, and this is what I've been saying since this whole thing kind of started developing with Carr being ousted and everything. I mean, I think it's very hard for anyone to tell me that this wasn't part of Josh McDaniels' game plan coming to the Raiders. I think him making the trade as soon as he did to get Jarrett Stidham to the Raiders, I think he was there when they drafted him in 2019. He was a big, Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, they like this kid. I think everything just really, in my opinion, points to Josh McDaniels had an opportunity to come to the Raiders, really good wide receiver core. There's good aspects, good defensive line, good aspects of the Raiders that maybe he didn't see or have in the Patriots. Also, he was at the Patriots for a long time and he wanted a head coaching opportunity. Saw it in Vegas. And also, I'm telling you, he must have thought, hey, if I could bring my guy in, Jarrett Stidham, who's right now not the starter at the Patriots, so trade value will be low. If I can bring this guy to Vegas with me, I can do something. And then you got to look at Carr, and he still had Carr. A lot of Raider fans are really supportive of Carr. Carr is the face of the franchise, and he probably thought, well, he can't just come in and get rid of Carr the first year. So he gave him a contract extension, which was on basically a 1-year prove-it deal, right? And that's what happened. And Carr, I think, kind of shot himself in the foot a little because he didn't play as well as he, should have, as well as Raider fans would have liked to see him play. And at that point, it was pretty easy for McDaniels to do the whole, benching and start Stidham. I think the way it happened is extremely questionable still, but it is what it is. And Jarrett Stidham got his start. And I think a lot of Raider fans felt relief after seeing Stidham play a pretty damn good game. So I think that's where we're at. In terms of next year, we'll see how he plays against the Chiefs. But with that said, with what I'm saying with McDaniels, this was kind of the game plan. I can't imagine a rookie quarterback getting drafted by the Raiders, and I can barely see a veteran quarterback getting brought in. McDaniels had his veteran quarterback with Carr, and whether it's the scheme, the system, or just Carr wasn't as good as he expected, Josh McDaniels wasn't happy. So Jarrett Stidham seems to be his guy, and I would be shocked if he wasn't the guy next year. So.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with a lot of what you said. I'm not sure if it was a plan A type of situation for Stidham to be here. I definitely feel like it was the backup plan, or at least a plan C, a plan D, a plan E, whatever plan it was in his future idea. But Vinny Bonsignore was talking a lot about it on Raider Nation Radio yesterday about how originally Carr was, they wanted to see if he could be the future, but they thought he was, which is a big reason why they gave him the 1 year prove it deal, but also made it pretty easy for them to, continue the extension if they thought he was really good. And then I guess a few weeks into the season, they made the realization he's not our guy. He's not who we want, but they still wanted to give him a chance. They still wanted to get him, a chance to learn the system, improve in the system. And he did not improve in the system. There was a flash, 3 weeks, obviously that 3-game win streak. Obviously we won those games. Carr played pretty decently or well in those games. But after that 3-game win streak, he looked awful on Thursday Night Football against the Rams. Played against the Patriots, and we still somehow won off of Chandler Jones' miraculous play. And then the Steelers game, he looked like genuine garbage. Like, that's not an exaggeration. He looked like garbage. And so they said, well, clearly he did not improve. He's not ending off the season how we want him to, at least looking decent. Even if we didn't win those games, they wanted him to at least look like he's trying, or at least not the reason why we're losing games. So they benched him. And Jarrett Stidham, who is a guy who's been with McDaniels and Ziegler since 2019, is in a system he knows very, very well. And a big thing people are saying is, why didn't he win versus Cam Newton? And why didn't he win versus Mac Jones? Well, let's take a look. His history. Drafted in 2019. That's the first offseason without Tom Brady. He was kind of drafted to be the heir to Tom Brady. He was drafted in 2018. He was learning under Brady in 2019. And then Cam Newton comes in and is named the starter over Stidham, because Stidham's still young. He might not know the system yet. He might not look too good yet. He's kind of a very, rough prospect. So maybe they wanted to give him another year. And when he did get chances, he didn't look great. But going into the offseason after the 2019 season, he was definitely an option. However, he had a very mysterious back injury that no one really knows is like a thing, but he had back surgery and was out for a year and a half. He didn't get to even compete with Mac Jones for the starter job in 2020. So that's why he didn't win versus Mac Jones. So he comes into 2021, still the backup. He, again, didn't get to compete. So going into 2022, they draft Bailey Zappi. Jarrett Stidham's kind of the odd guy out. We trade for him. I don't know if that's before or after. I don't remember when we traded for him, but we get Jarrett Stidham in here because I think McDaniels really, really, really likes Stidham. I think he likes what he has to bring to the table, and he may have just been a late bloomer in terms of like understanding the system and becoming a quarterback. Some people are later bloomers than others. Carr took a few years to really get going. I mean, his sophomore year was a pretty solid season. He was a Pro Bowler, but some QBs, as we know in our past, Jim Plunkett, Rich Gannon, are late bloomers. They take a little bit to actually get going, and when they do, they're really good. And is Jarrett Stidham that? I have no fucking clue because we've only seen him play one real game as a starter. We're going to see two. And if he plays a similar or even close to similar, if he even gets close to 365 yards, 3 touchdowns, 10.7 average throw, 108.1 rating, 22 for 34. If he gets even close to that, I will say he has a very good shot of winning the starter job going into it. I do think they bring in someone like Jimmy Garoppolo or Tom Brady if they do go the route of a a vet, because they're going to bring in a guy that knows the system. They're not going to bring in some rando that doesn't know the system, because then we're going to have the same issue that Carr had where they don't know the system, because it is a hard system to learn. So that's my big spiel about Stidham and the journey that I think that we're taking right now. Do I think that he's a confirmed starter for the start of 2023? No. Does he have a really, really good shot at it, especially after he plays well on Saturday, which I think he will? Yes. Whether or not he faces a rookie in the competition or a vet like Tom Brady or like Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't know, but he's definitely going to be an option, and at very least the backup.
Yeah. I think there's a lot more details there with the way you said it, but I pretty much agree. And
yeah,
the only thing, and like you said, you don't think that the whole thing was planned. Personally, as of right now, I do. I mean, but it is what it is. I mean, right after
planned
Saturday,
or not, it's what happened.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Planned or not, he's getting his chance. He's getting his opportunity. And if he delivers Saturday, just like he did this past Sunday versus the Niners, then I don't know. It's going to be really hard to argue why he shouldn't be the starter. If he ends up, look, we the Raider fans love our rivalries. If he comes out, the Chiefs come to Vegas and Stidham plays well and brings home the W, the last game of the season, he's going to leave a really good taste in the Raider fans' mouths for this whole offseason. And it's going to be hard to bring in another quarterback after that.
Yeah, we can definitely play spoiler on Saturday. This obviously, we have a 9.9% chance of winning against the Chiefs, but there's a big playoff implications for the Chiefs. Because of the Bengals-Bills game being confirmed to be a non-contest game, basically meaning it's never going to be played ever again. They will be going off of win percentage. So what that means, Chiefs right now are number one because they have the best win percentage out of the Bills, the Bengals, and the Chiefs, which are the only three in competition for the number one seed. So on Saturday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, because this is an East Coast show. We don't do Pacific time here. We do Eastern time. The best time, East Coast, East Coast. If we can beat them by the time the game ends on Saturday, they will be hanging on for dear life and praying the Pats pull a miracle against the Bills and beat the Bills. Because otherwise, if we beat the Chiefs and the Bills win, Bills get the number one seed. Chiefs have to play an extra game, which means more chance of them getting eliminated. Not a guarantee. Obviously, it's the Chiefs. They're a really good team. But being able to disallow them from having the bye week will be huge for them in the playoffs because, bye week teams usually obviously have an advantage going into the playoffs. So if we can play spoiler to the Chiefs, fuck the draft. And And honestly, it's kind of a win-win for the Raiders. You play spoilers to the Chiefs, you go off on a high note for the season. You lose, you keep your draft position. And as long as we're competitive, I think that's still a high note. What? Yeah,
I mean, this past game, was anyone really too disappointed? Even though
I
we
don't think so.
lost, I don't think so either. I think a lot of fans, a lot of Raider fans felt pretty good after that game. I mean, I was talking to my family. It was probably the most exciting game watching. It was probably the most exciting game to watch this season. I mean, and that's, we've had a lot of close games. So,
But it wasn't a depressing,
no,
slowly realizing, oh shit, we're losing this game again. It was a back and forth,
yeah,
despite we had a lead, a
yeah,
10-point lead. I think it was a back and forth, which made it exciting, like you said.
yeah. And I think Jared Stidham brings a totally different energy about him. And I don't know, we've been dealing with Carr for 9 years now, and as the head of the Raiders, and something about Jared Stidham. I mean, there's something different to like about it, and I'm just so excited to see if he can keep it going for this game against the Chiefs, because if so, I mean, like I said, I'll find it hard that he's not the starter next year if he can get a really electrifying game again this Saturday.
Yeah. And obviously the Chiefs have tape on him against the number one defense. So if they can, basically do what the Niners didn't do against the Raiders, then, that'll be an issue. But it's a good test. I mean, now that there's film out there on him for a full start, there wasn't film on here before, which is, I think, a big reason. I'm not knocking him. I think he played really well. I think it was as close as it was because of the fact they didn't have tape, so it made it harder. But the Niners, they're the better team. That's also why they won. They're just a really good team, really good defense. And the fact that we laid the second most points on the Niners this season, and it was Jarrett Stidham, is crazy. We're the only team to score above 30 points against the Niners this season.
Yeah.
Us and the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes and Jarrett Stidham are the two quarterbacks that laid 30 plus points on this Niners defense that was allowing an average of 15 points a game heading into this week. It's fucking crazy.
Yep.
Their offense is obviously really good. We saw McCaffrey being McCaffrey. I think our defense did decently against Kittle. He only had 28 yards and a touchdown. Obviously red zone touchdowns are, a given. So, but I think they played really well against Kittle. And if they can do the same thing that they did against Kittle against Kelsey, that could be a big help against the Chiefs, because they don't have the same receivers, in my opinion, as the Niners, although they do have Kadarius Toney, who could be a Swiss Army knife of sorts for them. MVS is having a solid ish year. Juju Smith-Schuster is having a pretty solid year as well. And of course, there's Patrick Mahomes, a really good O-line, stuff like that. They're averaging 29 points a game, so I definitely think we're going to have to score a lot of points to win this game.
Yeah, and that's how last game was too, right? 34-34 going into OT, and then the field goal that then we lost. So, and I think that's how every game that we played against the Chiefs for the last couple years has been, right? You say
except for last year.
Yeah, but this year it was what was the final score?
30-29.
Yeah. So
it was a shootout. I think it'll happen again. If Stidham plays as good as Carr or better than Carr did the first game, I think there'll be no problem of us, But we are out Chandler Jones, we are out Denzel Perryman this time, so it's a little rough. That's a little rough for our defense, which is, I think, a big reason why our defense did not look as good, because we're running with literally week one practice squad linebackers. Like Luke Masterson was not a starter week one. Yeah. Henry Lange was not even on the team until last week. Curtis Bolton was not on the team until November. So those are our three linebackers right now that are going to be starting versus the Chiefs. So we'll see how that goes, but they don't have as good a run game, so we should hopefully do better. But yeah, looking at the team stats, points a game, like I said, Chiefs 29 points a game, Raiders 23.9, basically 24. Points allowed per game, Chiefs at 22, Raiders at 24. Total yards, 428 yards a game for the Chiefs, 370 for the Raiders. Yards passing, Mahomes is being crazy this season with 315 yards a game. It's fucking ridiculous. Yards rushing 122 for the Raiders, 112 for the Chiefs. Yards allowed, they allow a lot of yards, 353, but we allow even more, 377. We allow a good amount of rushing yards, 119. They only allow 107, which is pretty stout. And then we allow a bit more in passing, 257 versus their 245. So looking at those stat line, thinking about, how it's the Chiefs, possibly the number one team in the league with possible MVP Patrick Mahomes, really good tight end Travis Kelce, Chris Jones having maybe his best season ever. How do you think the Raiders will fare this game? Like, give me, predictions, score predictions. How are you feeling about this game? Like your confidence level, stuff like that.
Well, anytime you're playing the Chiefs, I think being realistic, it's going to be an extremely tough game. Their offense is going to be doing the same thing they've been doing all 16, 17 other weeks this year. And like you started mentioning the passing yards, average passing yards. Mahomes is having an MVP season. He's probably going to be MVP. And I think it's not going to be anything that's not expected. We're not going to come out and our defense is going to be stopping them 3 and outs, and it's going to be a low scoring game. It's going to be their offense pretty much against our offense. I don't expect much from our defense at all. And I'm just hoping that our offense can click and we can get a couple drives going and we can just try to stay in it. In terms of a shootout, just our offense can keep up with their offense. And if that's the case, hopefully, it comes down to last couple drives, last couple minutes, OT if necessary, and we could maybe pull off a win there. But I don't think it's going to be anything like, even last week versus the 49ers, it was a little unexpected with us having the 10-point lead in the third quarter.
Yeah, 24-14.
Yeah, so that was pretty unexpected. So, I don't think it's going to be like that this week at all. I think Chiefs should have it's just going to be us following them, trailing them. And hopefully towards the end of the game, we can do some magic and we could get away with the dub. But either way, it's going to be a really fun game to watch. It's going to be really fun to see how Jarrett Stidham plays again. It's going to be really fun to see how the Raiders team as a whole plays in the last game of the season. And, also a little unrelated, it's going to be kind of fun to see what Mahomes does because Mahomes has been doing a lot of crazy things this year, Mahomes-esque things. And, he's most likely going to be the MVP this season. So we'll see if he can finish the regular season out in a good way. I don't really like to ever talk anything good about any other team, especially a Raiders rival. But at the end of the day, you got to respect what Mahomes has done. And this season is one of the best seasons that he's had. So it's, you got to give him credit where credit is due. So it'll just be a really fun game as a whole. And it's Saturday and primetime. It's the only game that's going to be on at that 4:00 slot. So it'll be fun to watch. Yeah.
And I'll be live streaming it. I will be live streaming that game. So see my reaction to either us winning or getting blown out or whatever the fuck happens. I'm not sure which one of them is going to happen yet. But with all that said, with all that preemptive stuff, all that good stuff, what is your score prediction for this game?
Probably 30-27 the Raiders.
30-27 Raiders. I think that's a very realistic score. Your score last time was 24-21 win. I was like, this, unless if we win, it has to be like 30 plus points each, and I was close.
Yeah.
But I like 30. What did you say? 30-27.
30, yeah.
I like that. That's good. I was gonna say something similar, except we lose. Preserve the draft position, even though I don't want to say tanking. Although I'd love to play spoiler to their number one seed. I'm going to predict it is a 38-31 loss by the Raiders. Doesn't go to overtime. It's a more of a we try and come back type of thing. It's like 35 to would it be 28? We kick a field goal and then the Kansas City goes down and scores a field goal and then we just fail on the last drive. That's what I think is going to happen.
All right.
Unfortunately, but
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I think in a situation like that, if it's, like a final drive to either tie or win, I think all the momentum that Jarrett Stidham has and the Raiders have as a whole, I would like to think that that would kind of carry over and they might be able to get something done there. But I mean,
The ghost of Derek Carr coming to play. But
yeah.
if we end up
That's
scoring
funny.
there, if we end up scoring and it's like 38, what would it be 38, 37? I think we go for 2. We don't go for overtime. We go for 2. We go for the kill. So that would be even more exciting if it ends up being
Yeah.
like 38-37 final score with
Well,
a failed 2-point conversion again
yeah.
to lose the game.
Well, if it's,
Imagine.
I hope we don't go for 2 in that situation, because I still think that was one of the stupidest decisions by McDaniels in that last game, but we'll see.
Yeah. Before we go, I do want to ask, what was your favorite moment, game, anything from this past season? What was your favorite anything? Because I've been thinking about it. I'm like, what is my favorite this past season?
So I think it would probably be a mix of 2.
Okay. That's allowed.
Yeah, only because the first one being Jarrett Stidham's play where he hung in the pocket, or rolled out and hung in there.
So good.
That was honestly, I'm not even kidding. And, there's got to be a lot of bias because I'm a Raiders fan, but I think that was one of the best plays by a quarterback, by a Raiders quarterback that I've seen in like a long time. I just think every part of it, the slow-mo clips of, you can see Stidham like just scanning the field over and over, and then Adams just making the decision. His route got busted and he continued up to just add something to it.
Yeah.
Just everything about that. The throw is perfect, and literally it couldn't have waited like another millisecond to throw that ball, because anything later it would have got busted.
Been blasted.
It was so fun. Such a good play all around. I think that was really just one of the best plays by a Raiders quarterback in like
a
long time. I mean, it's so awesome. I think that's probably one of them, but because it was so recent, I want to try to like go back, and I guess the other one's semi-recent as well. But I think the last play of the game versus the Patriots, Chandler Jones getting that.
How could I forget, dude?
Yeah, getting that ball. I think that, because, when you start talking about whether it was such a stupid play on the Patriots side or such a lucky play on the Raiders side, that's going to go down as one of those plays. It's just all time crazy. It's just a crazy play, and it will go down as an insane play to look back at for years to come. So I think that play was, and to watch it live, I
oh my God, that was like exhilarating.
Yeah.
And so good.
When thinking about like best plays, favorite plays, you got to think of like how I was feeling during that. And watching that one live, that one will be something that, I'll remember for years. And that was a great play that happened this season.
Yeah. I mean, both of those are, I was going to say either one of those. I actually, somehow, even though I mentioned it this show, I just remembered I mentioned this show. I somehow forgot about the Chandler Jones play. And just like the emotion of that was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to choose ones that you chose. So those two are definitely some of my favorites. But one of my absolute favorites was also somewhat recently. It is, we're 3-7 in Seattle. We are tied with Seattle going into overtime. The defense makes a stop. Seattle punts the ball. We are on our 20-yard line. Derek Carr scans the defense, checks out or whatever they were doing, snaps the ball, hands it off to Josh Jacobs, and boom, he's gone. It's like an 80, or maybe it was like an 86-yarder, 80-yarder, whatever it was.
Right down the middle.
Oh my! I couldn't forget just watching that play. That's like on the level of Chandler Jones was just like, oh my God, he had a 300-yard game. Was like his moment of being, I deserve to be paid. And that was just incredible. That was one of my favorite games from any player ever, like that I've watched.
Yeah.
Like Jacobs ate that game and he destroyed the Seahawks and gave us hope for winning more games. And then after that game, we only won, was it 2 more games? So
that's a good one. And in terms of like not just the play, what that play represented, because that was almost like the cherry on top for a phenomenal game by Jacobs. I mean, 300 plus total yards is just insane by a player. So that's a good one. And
That
real
was so
quick,
funny.
honorable mention the second game against the Broncos, that the Hail Mary
Oh yeah, the game went in
Adams,
overtime. That
yeah,
was a
yeah,
good one
another
too.
game-winning OT drive. And my favorite part about that one is the press conference by Adams after,
Mhm.
when asked about how do you get so open, how does a play like that work, and basically his explanation of, I basically show them similar plays all game long, and then I hit them with like almost like a reverse. And
Yep.
when you go back to watch the play after listening to him explain it, it just makes it just shows like oh man,
Yeah.
the talent of wide receivers and route running. And
Yeah.
so that's just a little honorable mention. But there have been some good plays, but I mean, there could have been so much more if we didn't have so many of these disgusting
Yeah.
losses. And I think as a
A lot
season
of
as a
those like
whole,
favorite moments probably would have been from those like game-winning drives,
yeah,
like the
yeah,
Devonte Adams catch over Stephon Gilmore that could have happened, or
yeah.
like I don't know. There's so many plays that could have been
Exactly. And that's the thing. Looking at the season as a whole, you just can't help but feel just like disgusted and
disappointed.
disappointed. Yeah, exactly. Because like you said, there was so much left on the table.
Hmm.
And that's the hard part. But you got to take the couple moments that we have and enjoy them, I guess.
Oh yeah. I
Hopefully we
mean,
make a new one this Saturday though.
yeah, right. I could see it happening. There's got to be one
Good
play,
too.
Devonte Adams or Waller or even Crosby or something like that.
Stidham.
But I mean, if you look at like you said, this season has been so disappointing. 5 games where we led by 10 plus at some point in the game, and they're all losses. We have those wins. We're 11-5 and in the playoffs. Like we're guaranteed playoff spot. It's just fuck, dude.
It's
It's
crazy.
just,
I can't.
and one of those wins would have been against Kansas City. So this game would have been for the division.
Yeah.
What the? Oh my god! What the hell? Stupid fucking. Oh, this
It's
team.
it's crazy to look back at.
Sometimes I hate this team. It's just.
Oh my god.
But
That better be the least. That better be the smallest problem in regards to next season. If
oh
if
my
we start
god.
if we lose close games again, I'll lose my mind. I'm telling you, that is the most frustrating thing.
Going from the season we had last year, we won like 6 or 7 close games, and then we're losing 5 this season. It's like, I think we're 2-8 in 1-score games this season. 2-8, dude.
So bad.
And 5 of them we had a 10-point lead at some point. And the only 2 wins, by the way, were the Chargers and the Broncos game. No, sorry. Wait. It'd be Chargers, Broncos, Seahawks. So we have 3 wins. And the Patriots. So 4. Sorry, we have 4 and 8.
That's got to
That's literally
be
the whole season.
Yeah.
That's 8. That's 12 games.
That's got to be some sort of
games.
record though, right?
Actually, we're
5,
4-9 now because of the Niners game.
Yeah. Well, the 5 games losing with a 10-point lead. Do you know, was that stat ever brought up as like being a record or anything? Did you hear anything about
I think
that?
it's an NFL record now.
Is it?
The 4 was tied for
Yeah.
from like a long time ago, but yeah.
I mean, that's so absurd. I don't understand it at all. After 1 or 2 games of that being up, and that's not to mention some of the games like the Cardinals. Wasn't it 20-0 at one point or something?
20-0 at halftime, dude.
A couple of them weren't 3 of them 17-point leads. I mean,
yep.
It's insane. That seriously
Jacksonville
is absurd.
Chiefs, we were up 17-0 against the Chiefs at one point. I don't even know the other one. I don't want to remember. I don't want to think about those.
I think it was the
games,
Colts,
man.
right?
Oh, was that? No, the Colts was just a stupid loss. I'm trying to think. Oh, the Rams were, that was 13. Oh shit, what were the other games?
Oh,
Jacksonville Chiefs. With the third game. What's the third game? It was 13 plus. There's no way it was 17 plus.
Titans?
No, we didn't lead against the Titans. It was, what the frick? So it was Arizona, Kansas City, Jacksonville. That's what it was. Arizona, Kansas City, Jacksonville. That was 17 plus.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's crazy.
All right. That's it for
now,
today.
See, I was feeling great, and now revisiting some of those memories. Now I don't feel so good anymore.
All right, I just got to rethink about Jacobs and Chandler Jones plays.
Let's go back to the highlights of the year.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, though. It was a nice video, reminiscing a little bit, talking about the good and the bad of the season, talking about the final game of the season, Jarrett Stidham, all that. If you like this video, if you made it all the way to this point, subscribe. You're here anyway, so you might as well subscribe. Like the video, comment, subscribe to NJ Raider Nation. Follow him on Twitter at NJ Raider Nation 0. He puts out good content and good stuff. Check out his highlight video that he put out recently, the reunion between Derek Carr and Devontae Adams. Very good video. Watch it. It's a lot of fun. Even though Carr's going to be gone, we have the memories. That's all that matters. Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day, week, month, year. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, Raider Nation.